toilet paper and you have someone rip it into little bits for you, like that, ladies. I'll do it on your hand so I don't ruin your whole day. All right, so, God, I hate how latex smells. So create a shape, do a thin layer of latex. What has burned Chelsea? What did we burn her with?
Iron.
Great, so kind of barrel shaped, right? Maybe a little round at one edge.
A cigarette.
Not explosion or anything like that. That'd be fun.
She was blowing glass.
Like Fight Club?
And the pipes.
So now in the narrative, not everything has to have happened to the fight. So maybe it's Emily's no good, very bad day, where she burns herself, right, like right here with the curling iron, right, and then she goes to the mall or whatever. So you want to do a thinnish layer where you can still opaque, but it's thin. And now you want to take little bits. Thank you so very much. Little torn bits. Don't cut them with scissors. Little torn bits. And you want to sneak them into the latex, even a little bit smaller than this.
In Fight Club, they show you a really good view of the
His
thermal.
chemical burn.
Yeah, it's nasty. So little bits, raggedy bits of.
And you want it to be like sticking up, kind
Yeah, it can stick up. So tap that into the latex.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally nasty. Yeah, feel free to come closer, take a look at that. And then you're going to paint over where you've put the tissue in. Nasty. And you can keep building this up. And it's like, oh, I have an area that's not quite like.
Is this kind of how you do zombie makeup too, or
Certainly, yeah.
like that peeling flesh away kind of thing?
Exactly. This would be kind of the old school way of doing it. Now, I did a master class. I did a master class a couple months ago with the guy from the company who does The Walking Dead. And what they do is they essentially use, because they're doing a high volume, right? They use transfer sheets. Like they make several hundred like latex like sort of like temporary tattoos of zombiness is I guess how you could call it, and then they just like wet transfer them on. So they can go through like a pack of zombies in an hour.
Yeah, The Walking Dead's gotten really good at it.
Yeah, let it be raggedy. Dig in there with the brush tips so that it's not so thick that you're losing the texture of the paper. You kind of want that texture. So now if you wanted to paint this old, like it's an old wound, maroons, brownish, that plum shadow, sort of mixing it in. Look at primary sources. You'll be able to see how a burn looks sort of brownish and discolored and still scarred. If it's fresh, dig into the red and the light maroon. I'm going to give it a minute to dry. I don't know that I'm
Mine
able to
turned
dry.
black when I burned my face.
Okay, great. It depends on the pigment of your skin. If now you have a much deeper skin tone than I do, so that it makes sense that yours would get like maybe even charcoal. Right?
Yeah, it was disgusting.
Yeah.
Mine
Whereas,
got red and pink.
Yeah. So whereas mine get like angry red. Well, here I have a scar. It's not a burn. It's a cat scratch. But that is months old and it's still pink. So letting that dry. Let's see. Or so. Yeah. Talk about requirements. So also in the text, it talks about using the shadowing technique and the wax technique to change the shape of your nose. We'll be reviewing that again later when we're doing sort of period makeup and makeup to look more like each other. Think Nicole Kidman in The Hours. So review that stuff, play around with that. We'll be dealing with that next project. Also gives instructions to block out eyebrows, which we'll be going over with next project. The textbook uses soap. I prefer glue stick. We'll play around with that. So know too that in the rest, we want a full face of makeup. So you'll want to go around and where you've put on bruising, that counts as your foundation, right? But otherwise you want to make sure you don't, thank you so much. Otherwise you want to make sure that you don't have sort of made up skin, blank skin, because the stage light will hit it and make the whole rest of the stuff look fake. So do a little, like, even if it's slightly discolored, little sickly foundation with your partner. It can be kind of fast and nasty. You don't need to look super smooth and streakless because they've been all beat up, and you're going to use a lot of texture to cover up any kind of like mistakes. So think foundation. Think about how you still want to bring out features. Notice I hit Brian really hard on his cheekbone, so he doesn't need a lot of shadow under there, but you'd want to probably even finger tap in a little bit of shadow in there. You still want to do like shadow and highlight elsewhere on the face, okay? To remove spirit gum, you have spirit gum remover in your kit. Latex, many of you will find that it peels right off. If that like gets caught in your arm hair and that hurts you, then warm water and soap, sort of circular scrubbing, will bring that off. As your book says, when it comes to this stuff, more is less. If we were to then give him a cut here and then here and give him 2 black eyes, it would start to look fake. Because our psychology doesn't want to believe that anyone gets that badly beat up, right? There's sort of like a critical mass, which is why I say 3 elements. If you want to do a few more, great. But stick to sort of controlled and believable and detailed rather than audacious. I've had a couple of people pull off the garroted open neck wound, and in 35 minutes. If you're feeling ambitious and have a, sort of a natural hand at this, go for it. If not, keep it to smaller areas that you can really like take the time to detail out. All right. Almost. Your textbook gives instructions for charred and blistered skin as well. It goes into a little more detail about bullet holes in a way that'll be helpful. Some of the things it says, like, oh, using grease paint and stuff, it means, the stuff you have available in your kit. Also, feel free to troll the internet for demos of other skills. My time is limited to show you certain things, but if you want to sort of play around, this is fun. Great, go for it. Judging by some of the picture files that I've read already, some of you are really into this, because some of those were really gross. Who was it that showed the broken bone where the flesh was torn away to the bone, that you could see like the bone was like broken in the... Was that you?
It was so gross.
It was so gross.
That just happened to a basketball player.
Yeah. His leg. Did you see
Oh, right. No, I haven't. I've heard about it. I didn't.
His shin is popped out of his.
Yeah. Right. So if you're into that stuff.
His bone, the rest of his leg.
Right. And of course, for this project, you're not required to pick up any additional materials. You're welcome to use what I have, fresh scab and thick blood and whatnot. Though, if you feel like, oh, this is the future I have, or I want to play in this, there are a number of kits that have like scarring cream and other sort of special effects stuff that are really fun. You're welcome to like check that stuff out. Is this right? All right. So we would paint this like we would paint.
Can you use liquid latex for more movable pieces of your face, or?
It's largely a matter of like actor comfort. So you are the best person to answer that question for you. You know what I mean?
If it's like on your cheek,
Yeah, it'll stick.
Will it stay there?
Oh yeah, it'll stay there.
So if I really want to do Joker makeup, I can use that.
Yes. But I am cautionary about it, because if I were to say, there's some actors that I work with in town that I've already been like, okay, we're going to lay it to your face. And I'm like, no, you're not. It's sort of something that really has to be about the actor's comfort as well.
I'm just thinking for my own devices.
Yeah. So to start, I'm tapping at this, finger tapping. It's going to really bring out a lot of that wonderful texture. Now, right now, since the latex rather that you have is really pale, it looks sort of like a topographical map, and it's really vampiric. You have a couple ways to avoid that. You can either go back in and kind of hand paint the little areas too, Or what I probably should have done is to do a layer of foundation over the whole thing. But it largely depends on how deep this bruise is, or how fresh this is. Like, I could probably get this deep enough if I were to keep playing with it. Yeah, nasty. So you might want to consider, I forgot how pale this was, doing a layer of foundation before you start tapping at it. All right, that gives time for you to clean that off of yourself. Any questions?